Yu, when he arrives, just put this into the water he drinks. Your brother will surely be very cautious, she continued. Just wait until he falls asleep after drinking it. Then tonight we'll take you away from here. All right. She gently squeezed my wrist, but my thoughts were elsewhere. My gaze was fixed on the person standing behind her. The shadow of the pagoda tree swayed. My brother, wearing a white shirt, stood at the doorway. In his hand, he held a kitchen knife. His eyes were somber. He was watching both of us intently. When my consciousness returned, I found myself inside the house. A familiar, yet utterly unsettling feeling. My brother had dragged me inside and closed the door. His left hand held the knife, and his right hand fumbled beside the door. It seemed he couldn't find any rope, so he ripped off his own tie and used it to bind my wrists. I won't let you see Duzer, even if I die. Duzer, that was my fiancé, and also the man who had just used a sleeping drug to knock out my brother. I let my brother tie my wrists, securing the knot tightly. I didn't shed a tear as I watched him tie it carefully, gently, without hurting me, even placing a piece of cotton underneath my wrist. Brother. I grasped his fingers. He paused slightly. In the previous life, I felt disgusted, just touching him, but now, my small gesture made him hesitate for a few seconds. Then, he covered my mouth with his hand. Be quiet. If you dare plead for Duzo again, I'll kill him. In the previous life, I went through similar things, slowly falling out with my brother. I loved Duzo to death, but I didn't know that Duzo approached me with evil intentions. He conspired with my best friend, plotting to kill me for the insurance money. I truly believed Duzo was my destiny, desperately clinging to him. But my brother tried to stop me, telling me Duzo was not a good man. I defied everything, saying many harsh words to him. Lu Ming, you are nothing but a pervert, holding your own sister captive. Do you know why the neighbors avoid you? Because you're a monster. I hate you to death. Why are you my brother? I don't want a brother like you. I only remember my brother's eyes looking vacant that day. He resembled my mother, possessing an inner bone structure that was beautiful, but always exuded a sense of fragility and vulnerability. He calmly tied me up, then told me, tonight's dinner is fish head soup, stewed with tofu. That was my favorite dish. I slowly recovered from my memories, realizing I was tied to a chair. My brother was cooking in the kitchen. My brother truly was psychologically unstable, an extreme control freak. But he did nothing wrong. He only knew how to love me in his own way. I mused faintly. He emerged from the kitchen, looking down at me. What's wrong, brother? I looked up and smiled at him. What happened? His voice was deep and hoarse, soft but clear. My brother's voice was always hoarse, because he had to work hard to raise me, and sometimes had to shout when fighting to protect me. You don't need to tie me up, brother, I said softly to him. I won't run away anymore. I will stay by your side and heal the wounds in your heart. My brother just lowered his head, looking at me coldly. You are stubborn, aren't you? My brother thought I still wanted to run away, but he knew well, what he feared most was seeing me treat him with tenderness. As the man decisively moved away, I changed my tone slightly, with a tiny change in inflection. Brother, it hurts. 3 seconds later, I sat upright in the chair, completely unharmed. My brother knelt before me, anxious as if I had a serious injury. Where does it hurt? Do we need to go to the hospital? I was just pretending, brother. He wanted to touch me, but was afraid, because I had screamed before to stop him. Whenever I was angry, he didn't dare disobey me. My finger lightly touched his soft black hair. He froze, looking at me with a stunned expression I hadn't seen in 800 years. I lowered my head, gently touching the corner of his eye. Brother, in the next life, I will protect you instead. I was truly serious. Since I was brought back to life, Duzo and my best friend, those two betrayers, should not expect to live in peace. By what right, after my death, could they tarnish my brother's clean hands? Could the worthless one they spoke of chase those two criminals to the ends of the earth? Could that worthless one limp on his broken leg, watching and being vigilant against their every word and action? Was my brother truly as bad as they said? I looked up, hatred burning inside me, wanting to tear the two people in front of me apart. But I was still here now. I stared at the bag of sleeping pills in my hand. In my mind, the plan had long been set. Did you go looking for Duzo again? As soon as I stepped inside, I was pulled into his chest. His high nose nestled into my neck, breathing softly. The scent of locust blossoms on his body permeated the air. Under the dim light, Lu Ming's face was pale, his features striking, like black ink splattered on a white sheet of paper. Touching him would cause him to shatter. Brother, Silence. He interrupted me roughly. His finger touched my collarbone, bringing with it a strange sensation that made me shiver. This time, I didn't push him away. I suddenly felt my brother was like a dog who was certain that the tattered toy it had picked up still belonged to it. I smiled, my fingers gently stroking his messy hair. Then I abruptly stopped. It was very hot. Excessively hot. My brother had a fever. I only now noticed his face was paler than usual. Although clearly uncomfortable, he stubbornly stared at me. Brother, what happened? Let's go to the hospital, I asked tremblingly, holding his body. His voice was cold and hoarse. I told you to be home at 6 o'clock. I waited for you. The clock pointed to 9 p.m. I realized I had forgotten my promise to him, forgotten the appointed time. But this foolish brother, his mind seemingly clouded by the fever, stubbornly waited for me to return. My brother lay on the sofa. He looked at me with the surprised expression he hadn't shown in 800 years, because I had promised to cook dinner for him. This, in my previous life, was the first time I had cooked dinner for my brother. My cooking skills were quite good. In the past life, to please Duze, I learned to cook, bringing him food every day. When I returned home, my brother would often look at me with disdain. It was only many years later that I learned he had kept the half-eaten pieces of bread I left behind for a very long time. The slow-cooked dried shrimp and scallop porridge was excellent. I blew on a spoonful and brought it to my brother's thin lips. My brother stared at me, his eyes showing suspicion. Aren't you going to eat? I asked calmly. He bit the spoon, his eyelids slightly lowered, looking obedient. I could hardly imagine how my seemingly fragile brother, with visible veins on his small arms, could handle Duze and Duanyue. Brother, do you want to realize our dream? I spoke gently to him as he ate the porridge. I'm graduating soon. You need a stable job. Let's sell the current house and move to live by the sea. I want to open a flower shop. Perhaps I had never truly talked about my dream with him. The words I spoke to him most often were telling him to go away. It was clear he had raised me. It was clear he had given up everything for me. Brother, do you like flowers? I moved closer to him. You once liked the scent of locust blossoms. Before I could finish, he raised his hand and gripped my chin. His rough man's fingers gently touched my lips. My brother looked at me. his sharp gaze containing a clear message. What do you want to say? A flower shop by the sea, so it's easy for you to run away. Don't deceive me. Live a good life, Lu Yu. He called my name, as if in a daze. He knew well that if we changed environments, the first thing I would do was abandon him. If it were before, I would certainly have done what my brother said. My brother was like someone who had been bitten by a snake. 10 years of fearing a rope. I wanted him to trust me again, but he felt like I was a poisonous snake, inviting him to swallow the forbidden fruit. There had been too many times before when I had lied to him until there was nothing left. In the empty room, I looked at him without saying a word. You need to prove it. My brother looked at me. How to prove it? I asked him. The light flickered and went out. The room was completely plunged into darkness, and very quickly, I knew how my brother wanted me to prove it. My back hit the wall, supported by his hand behind me. I was burning up. I heard his heavy breathing, and then he firmly gripped my chin. His lips made contact with my skin. It was truly hot. Every part of my body he touched was very hot. He kissed me, making me feel paralyzed. His lips slid past my tearful eyes, moving down, landing on my ear, bringing the warmth of a normal temperature to every sense. I reached out and squeezed the collar of his shirt, reciprocating the kiss. As my brother's breathing became ragged, he held my chin tightly, pressing his forehead against mine, gently rubbing. I chased his low whisper in the darkness. It was only then that I knew who was truly in distress. Just this is enough to prove it. Don't leave your brother. In the kitchen, I had just finished washing the last bowl. My brother was in the living room. It seemed like every time I was home, he tried to avoid me, doing everything quickly. I copied my brother, doing things I had never done in this life. I knew that my brother's feelings for me were not limited to just kinship. We were not blood related, and every time I looked into his eyes, I felt an extreme sense of restraint. I wanted to be by his side, but I didn't dare. I didn't know how to face him, even having lived 2 lives. Just as I was thinking, my brother pushed the door open and walked in as if nothing had happened. Want a sip? He pushed me towards the sink. His hand held a glass of warm milk, bringing it to my lips. I had a habit of drinking milk before bed, but it seemed my brother wanted me to drink it more. I followed the trace of his lips and took a sip. Such a good girl. He stroked my head. Brother, I called him. Your kissing technique needs more practice. What? He chuckled. I turned around and he leaned down and suddenly kissed the corner of my mouth. I pulled his tie. Brother, do you believe me now? I'm never running away. Look, I'm still here. The man leaned down, looking at me silently, until he opened his heart. My head suddenly felt heavy. I looked up at him, my vision blurring. I felt dizzy. Is there something in the milk? My brother held my cheeks tightly. His fingers, calloused, gently touched my eyelids. I couldn't move. What was wrong with the milk? I heard my brother's voice, as if from a great distance. You did very well this time, Lu Yu. It's just, you shouldn't foolishly keep the medicine in your pocket. It just fell out of there. You almost killed your own brother. Such a trouble. My brother seemed to have misunderstood. I had put the sleeping pills in my pocket to send them for analysis of their origin. I needed evidence of Duze's crimes and those of others. But it seemed my brother misunderstood that I wanted to poison him. Everything I had just done might have been misinterpreted by him as a staged self-sacrifice. I wanted to explain, but couldn't utter a word. My eyelids grew heavier. Despite everything, I wanted to reach out. but Lu Ming pushed my hand away. Do you hate your brother that much? You lied to him once, and now you want to lie to him a second time. I felt my head heavy, hazy, and unclear. I felt like something was constricting my neck. I couldn't breathe. My whole body was paralyzed. I was tightly bound by my brother. Brother! I looked at him helplessly. You have to give me a chance to explain. Lu Ming looked at me with a serene, emotionless gaze. My brother was tall, but very thin, like the fragile crystal of the world. But he was very strong. No one, male or female, or even as obedient as I was, could match him. His pale, almost cold finger gently stroked my ear. Brother! I called him. Shut up. His voice was cold and slightly hoarse. My brother leaned down and kissed me. His eyelashes were quite long. They tickled my eyelids when they touched. I struggled to move, but even my brother's gentle, soft gestures felt unbearable. Because I loved him, I seemed to subconsciously respond to his actions. My nose filled with his scent, and only a final sliver of consciousness kept me from plunging into the abyss. I never intended to practice kissing techniques with my brother. Brother, cough, cough. I began to cough. He immediately let go and gently rubbed my back. Who is the one who needs kissing practice now? He said angrily, clearly still holding a grudge. He thought I had lied to him, but I hadn't meant to. I emphasized this with a deep breath. You have to believe me. Dozer gave me the medicine. He wanted me to use it to make you unconscious. I was just keeping it to send for testing. You have to believe me. I tilted my head up, my eyes firmly fixed on him. When my brother prepared to lean down and kiss me again, I knew my explanation wouldn't convince him. It was like talking to deaf ears. I struggled to break free from him. He raised an eyebrow, letting out a soft, "Oh." His words brushed my ear. Yes, go ahead and test the medicine. Just don't accidentally kill your brother. Lu Yu, do you have anything to say? After all you've done, do you regret it? Don't you cherish your brother even a little? My brother's eyes looked at me, seemingly trying to stay calm, but on the verge of shattering. I opened my mouth, wanting to say something, but couldn't utter a sound. In the past, to escape Lu Ming, I had done many unacceptable things, such as putting sleeping pills in his breakfast, falsely accusing him of theft to call the police, and many other malicious acts. My own actions had damaged my brother's good reputation in everyone's eyes. I was the troublemaker, and my brother had to manage the aftermath. And now, I was like a fish in water, taking the initiative to kiss Lu Ming. My brother's lips were very pleasant to kiss, soft. He was surprised, his eyes witnessing a colorful, unexpected painting unfolding. My brother seemed crazy. My head hit the soft mattress. He used his hand to cushion and support me. The bed seemed to shake from our movements. I responded to him, searching for his fingers, and we tightly interlocked them. He kissed my neck. He said, "You're going to be the death of your brother." I thought, in the previous life, I owed Lu Ming so much. In the previous life, I couldn't cure his illness. But now I swear I will ensure that I will be by his side, enduring together until death. My brother cooks very well. If my hands weren't tightly tied, and he wasn't feeding me every bite, I feel it would taste even better. Brother, I stretched out the word, the silver spoon touching my lip, then stopping. Lu Yu. The last time you acted spoiled with me like that, you almost sent your brother to jail. He said emotionlessly about that incident, but under the table, my feet were rubbing against my brother's thin calves. He was startled for a moment. His face began to blush. He was truly innocent. If this wasn't the man who had just pinned me to the bed and kissed me like a hungry wolf, I would have believed him. Brother, do you believe in fate or not? I had a dream about the outcome. In the dream, I married Duze, and you not only broke your leg, but Duze and Duanyue also conspired to kill me. Brother, even when your legs couldn't move anymore, you still chased them halfway across the world. That's why I absolutely hate Duze now. I looked into his eyes, saying those words with sincerity, but he still showed no emotion. His eyes as beautiful as the sky above. I didn't know what he was thinking. Oh, really? He moved closer to me, his hot breath touching my neck. What a coincidence. I also dreamed that last night. In the dream, my little sister couldn't stand everything and tried to run away from her brother, and so you concocted a beautiful, elaborate lie, making your brother fall into a deep sleep and then abandoning him. I almost couldn't believe he could say those words, because in the previous life, before I gave Lu Ming the medicine, I had to coax him. I still remember that day. His eyes were red, holding my wrist tightly, hugging me close. He said, Lu Yu, you won't leave me, right? You definitely won't leave me. And so, I gave him the medicine that evening. If my brother's dream was real, perhaps his desperate control was an attempt to keep me. I smiled at him. He looked at me with a frown. Fine, brother. I agree to whatever you want. I promised it was the last time I would deceive Lu Ming. While showering, I adjusted the water to the lowest temperature and used the hairdryer to blow cold air onto my head. Since I was little, my body didn't handle cold well. When I felt the cold air blowing directly on my forehead, my nasal sinuses felt strange. I sniffled and knew I was catching a cold. Whether it would turn into a fever depended on luck. After drying my hair, I stepped out of the bathroom. My brother was sitting on the sofa, his dark eyes fixed on me. I walked towards him, let out a small gasp, and staggered into his arms. Although my gesture was somewhat sudden and unguarded, my brother quickly embraced me. Suddenly, I felt like a vixen from a book, seductive and mesmerizing. But my brother's eyes were steady, as if nothing could sway him. His voice was cold. Go to sleep. I pinched his thigh, but my fingers were caught by his. My eyes followed his moving Adam's apple. What are you doing? Stop moving. Go to sleep. This time he spoke with a hint of warning. Brother, I think this is very nice. Do you like it? I sat on his lap, reaching out to touch his neck. His pupils clearly trembled. He sighed. He was trying to restrain himself. My brother. Then I'll do this again next time. If you allow me, Lu Ming. Look, if you do this to your sister. A strong force came from the back of my neck. My lips and teeth were suddenly blocked. The words I wanted to say were swallowed back into my throat. Perhaps he didn't want to hear anything from his sister, this scoundrel. Then I truly felt sorry for my brother. Although I was controlled, the one being held captive was him. I wrapped my arms around his neck. Are you scared, brother? He silently nodded in my arms. You've been acting too strangely lately, Lu Yu. His voice was hoarse. I'm afraid this is a trap. But do you know, even if you dug a hole in front of me and smiled, telling me to jump in, your brother wouldn't hesitate to leap. Halfway through the night, I woke up, feeling unbearable. I went to knock on my brother's door. Brother, I think I have a fever. My vision blurry, I looked up at him. Many thoughts suddenly flashed through my mind. I suddenly felt my brother looked incredibly handsome. If he were at school, he would surely have countless girls crushing on him. But unfortunately, for my brother, I was already... He quickly scooped me up to the hospital without hesitation. He had covered me with his own coat. He gently touched my forehead with his hand. I felt his hand tremble. Perhaps it was very hot. My brother was always worried about me. My brother was too perfect. So perhaps the gods gave him this one weakness, which was me. Perhaps, because of me, he became fragile and unbearable in his own heart. In the taxi, I leaned on my brother's shoulder. I truly felt quite cold, so I hugged his coat tightly. My brother's hand was held by mine. I played with the prominent veins on the back of his hand. Still feeling uncomfortable, we're almost there. He was worried that I might have damaged my brain from the fever. I really wanted to tell him that I was fine, that it was all intentional, but I truly didn't dare look at my brother's face when he learned the truth. In a state of panic, my brother took me to the emergency room. He had me sit in the hospital's IV drip area. He adjusted my collar, leaned down in front of me, and called me his good girl. I'll go pay the fee and be right back. Be obedient. After the IV drip, you won't feel uncomfortable anymore. I buried half my face in his coat, looked at him and nodded slowly. He stroked my head. He gently pulled my collar and kissed the corner of my mouth. I watched his hurried figure walk away. My brother truly wanted to return to my side quickly. But I left his coat on the chair, turned around, slipped out into the hospital's murky darkness. In this life, I really wanted to stay by my brother's side. I swore to God, my brother would understand that I truly loved him. I had made Duzo impatient after a few months. It wasn't easy to get a piece of evidence of their crimes. It was 4 a.m. Dawn was just breaking. I called Duze, but he didn't answer. At this time, everyone was deep asleep. Sometimes I couldn't control my thoughts. If my brother knew I wasn't home, I wondered how anxious he would be. I remembered when I was little. Once my brother lost me in the supermarket. I cried until he pushed through the crowd and hugged me. Trembling so much, he almost convulsed. From then on, every time, my brother always found me. Until this life, when he broke his leg, his sister, me, didn't look back and abandoned him. The phone ringing interrupted my thoughts. It was Duze. I answered. Have you run away yet? He was silent for a moment before asking. Not yet. My brother is too suspicious. He took the medicine. Could you make me some more? Don't worry, my brother has let his guard down. This time it will definitely succeed. I tried to dispel Duze's suspicion, having to pretend that I hated my brother very much. Moreover, Duze was also strange today. He seemed to be using a voice changer. This was not good. Duze might have started to suspect me, like the domino effect. I was afraid that any small change from my side could completely alter the timeline. How can I trust you? Doozle, are we still talking about trusting each other? Doozy seemed to have discovered something. I could only continue to strengthen my argument, taking a deep breath and saying the phrase, I like you. Don't you know that? He was silent for a very long time on the other end, then asked me, what about your brother? You have to be sure you haven't been swayed by your brother. My brother? I couldn't care less about him. He's just a hateful dog I have to deal with. The day he dies, I'll have to set off fireworks to celebrate. I closed my eyes, silently adding, "Just kidding. It's just a joke." What I said was definitely the opposite of what I felt. It seemed like Duze finally felt reassured. He gave me an address, 876 South Street. Be careful. Duze had definitely engaged in some illegal activities with my best friend Duan Yue. I even suspected that before they knew me, they had conspired to defraud others. So, on my next meeting with them, I secretly turned on the recording feature on my phone. I lowered my head, staring at the phone screen. There were 45 missed calls, all from my brother. The meeting place was an abandoned warehouse. Duza was always cautious, clearly just planning to help me escape, but preparing as if he was carrying out an illegal operation. In the previous life, I didn't even realize it. Dawn was approaching. Sunlight filtered through the windows. I still felt hazy and heavy-headed. I thought, quickly find some evidence and call the police to arrest Duze and the others. As for my brother, my train of thought was suddenly interrupted, swirling in my mind without stopping. I began to restrain myself from thinking about his name, stemming from betrayal and separation. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I didn't want to deceive my brother anymore. I truly regretted it. When I reached the end of an old factory, I froze there. The sun was beginning to rise. A man was tied to a chair, mumbling incoherently. It was Duze, and behind him, my brother stood with his hands in his pockets, fiddling with SIM cards in his hand. In that moment, I suddenly realized my brother had tied up Duze. He was the type of person who would solve problems at the root. No wonder he used a voice changer to take the call, impersonating Duze. That was my brother. What did I say on the phone call? My brother. I couldn't care less about him. He's just a dog who harasses me. The day he dies, I'll have to set off fireworks to celebrate. I was truly finished. The morning sun clearly showed the difference between us. I stood there bewildered, my throat dry. "Brother!" He tilted his head lazily. In his beautiful eyes, my reflection showed no emotion. "Are you going to plead for him?" He kicked the chair in front of him, perhaps for me to sit on. Duzo was clearly frightened into idiocy, looking at me with desperate pleas for help. So cowardly. "Brother, I'm telling you, I'm not taking his side. But we can't violate the law, and you still want to plead for him?" He interrupted me, his eyes cold and distant. I never thought I would be looked at by my brother with such an expression. Cold, indifferent. So what should I say? Every time I explained, my brother didn't believe me, and everything would only get worse. In the end, it would only break the bond between us. I feared my brother would be furious, that he would become aggressive towards me, that he would take me home and settle accounts for everything, but he didn't. His calmness terrified me, like slowly sinking into a bottomless swamp. After a long while, I heard him sigh. "Lu Yu, did you know, I like you. I fear many things, each one related to you. I'm afraid you'll be hurt. Afraid you'll encounter bad things. Afraid you'll leave. These past few days, I've constantly wondered how much you hate me. You hate me so much that you're willing to sacrifice yourself because of that hatred. And only later did I realize, even if I tried to keep you, you would still leave. So, Lu Yu, I won't stop you anymore." My brother pushed the other man away. The sunlight hadn't fully illuminated my brother's figure. I only caught his words. "Go with him. Live well. Remember to go to the hospital. I stood there bewildered. Only after a long time did I react. My brother was no longer there. In the deserted factory, Duze was so moved he almost cried. Luyu, I knew it. You always cared about me. Your brother is just a pervert. Hurry up and call the police to arrest him. I kicked away the chair he was tied to. You can't tell anyone about this. Duze didn't dare call the police because he himself had committed illegal acts. The man behind me cried out mournfully. He begged me to rescue him, but I didn't. After a few seconds of internal struggle, I rushed out of the factory. I decided to follow my brother. Since childhood, my brother had always been the one to comfort me, and now my brother was no longer by my side. I didn't know where my brother went. I decided to go home to look for him. I couldn't reach him on the phone. Truly, fate had changed. I sat in the car, composing a long text message for him, then deleting every word. Suddenly, I felt infected by my brother. I was going crazy. I only wanted to see him. My mind constantly revolved around him. Finally, I found my brother at a convenience store near our gate. I stood right by the store, took 2 steps forward, but froze under the streetlights. The convenience store in the morning was unremarkable. My brother wore a black jacket. He had deep-set eyes and pale skin. He leaned down, handing something to the store clerk. The clerk was a young girl, shyly glancing at him. My brother smiled slightly, his eyes curving as he looked at her. I stood at the door, feeling like I was exploding. My heart felt squeezed somewhere. My brother came out of the store, looking surprised to see me. The faint morning light shone on his face. I stood on the path my brother had to take. He tilted his head. Could you move aside? His eyes looked at me as if I were a stranger. I struggled to remain calm. Brother! My voice trembled, the tone shifting. I watched my brother's pupils slowly widen. He wrapped his arms around me. His fingertips stroked my cheek. Why are you crying? Don't cry. It's my fault. Calm down, don't cry, okay? Everything in his hands fell to the ground. He began to wipe my tears. I choked as I looked at him. I didn't have parents since I was little. And you abandoned me too. Lu Ming, how could you be so heartless? He said, Okay, it's all my fault. You really are my ancestor. Don't cry. All right. But I cried so hard I couldn't breathe. I felt my nose clog up and suddenly realized I had a fever. My whole body felt like it was infected with a virus, as if everything was attacking me. My head was spinning. I remembered I had been miserable all night, hadn't even had half a bottle of water. My consciousness gradually sank into a daze. My hands tightly gripped his sleeve. In the final moments, I still heard my brother's voice, calling my name in a panic. I felt my eyes covered with a black cloth. When one cannot see anything, one's senses are released infinitely. He brushed my hair aside, touching my head, gently caressing me with his calloused fingers. Brother, I called him. He didn't reply, but just unbuttoned my shirt collar, moving downwards. I trembled. He gently stroked my earlobe. Be good. Let me take your temperature. Brother, why are you covering my eyes? Feeling his breath, the sound falling into my ear felt multiplied 1,000 times. My heart pounded. To punish you. I have a fever, brother. He patiently tied my wrists, making me try to follow the sound of his voice. When he spoke, I could only catch the friction of the sheets and clothes, and feel my wrist being pulled up, silk being wrapped up and down in front of me. It was painful and slightly uncomfortable, but also very bitter, just like how my brother felt about me. Brother, I was wrong. I could only beg him. He gently hummed. I didn't know what he was thinking in the darkness. He took the thermometer from under my arm and looked at the numbers. "Where were you wrong?" I heard him ask me. I shouldn't have lied to you. I shouldn't have continued contacting Duze. But do you know, when I sought out Duze, I truly wanted to. He touched my forehead with warmth. I thought he might be using his forehead to take my temperature. Enough. Lu Ming, I didn't mean to deceive you. I intentionally made myself sick. Lu Ming, don't you understand? I hurt myself because of you. I wanted to commit suicide because of you. Lu Ming said that all worlds were the same. But in his world, there was only me. That's why I gave my brother a hard time. That's why I truly hurt my brother. His kiss fell on my neck, wet. I'm afraid I'm going insane one day. I felt his light bite. His voice gradually became painful and haunting. I think, what if you put a knife to my neck? What if you broke my leg? What should I do then? I'm willing to endure. But when you're sick, when you're in pain, I'm uncomfortable. What should I do with you? I'm going crazy. So, please torture your brother a little more. Just don't hurt yourself. Recalling the past, even across 2 lives, my brother had always been like this, holding me even when he was covered in wounds. I hugged my brother's neck tightly. I love you, brother. You should trust me more. I love you! The words burst out like unexpected fireworks. I felt it, and my brother was surprised. A second later, I regretted it. My brother was too crazy. My tear ducts were stimulated to the point of being uncontrollable. My heart was clenched. In one moment, I finally understood. The pain of Lu Ming as he tightly held me. His kiss fell into my heart. Possessive, plundering, in the darkness, everything was the same. Unable to yearn for the light. Constantly seeking light from each other. When I was little, I was very afraid of the dark. Afraid of falling into a bottomless abyss. But if my brother was the abyss itself, I was willing to throw myself into it. Brother! I called his name unconsciously. The black cloth was removed by my brother. I looked into his eyes. His eyes shone brightly, like the oldest stars of the universe. Burning in my heart, I wanted to cry out of shame. He gently bit my neck with his firm teeth. You called your brother your dog. So now, with only one dog, what are you gonna do with it? He said he didn't hold grudges, but he was holding on to this. The faint morning sunlight slipped through the blanket. I moved my arm slightly, but my brother held me tighter. Not all sisters are octopuses clinging to their brothers. It was my brother who was an octopus clinging to me. His high nose rubbed against my neck. This was clearly intentional, leaving a red mark on my skin, slightly painful. Brother, why weren't you so gentle last night? I don't believe you would do this to me. He let out a light laugh, burying his head in my neck. The laugh was slightly hoarse, stirring my heart. I'm sorry I couldn't resist. Can I compensate you? He helped me sit up and sat me on his lap. The morning light happened to fall on his face. He closed his eyes, his hand gently stroking my waist. His features were exquisite, like they were carved by the hand of the most famous sculptor of ancient Greece. I leaned down and gently bit his shoulder. He reached out to brush the hair falling over my face. I gritted my teeth, imagining what he had done to me last night. I took a deep breath and bit down hard. He let out a groan. He held back. I pinched his neck. He obediently nodded. I leaned down to look at the mark on his body. My teeth were beautiful, perfectly proportioned. Congratulations. Before I could admire it, he pulled the blanket up, wrapping me in his arms. My vision plunged into darkness, filled with his scent. His kiss fell on my back, like the morning light washing away the last warmth. Life. My brother caught a cold. He said he had to take responsibility. I followed his example, but never had such a good physique. Now I was breathing normally, but he was wearing extra clothes and sniffling. Want to go to the hospital with me? I touched his forehead. It's fine. He gently rubbed the palm of my hand. Doozy frequently collaborates with illegal drug factories. But he's very cunning. Before you could act, I was already investigating him. It's just that I was missing a few key pieces of evidence. Indeed, whether in this life or the previous one, my brother investigated Doozy. But clearly both times, it wasn't enough to imprison him. But my brother was still investigating the illegal drug factories. And dudes are often engaged in more dangerous activities. I held my brother's sleeve tightly. I think Duzer has been collaborating with Duan Yue for several months, frequently defrauding insurance companies. My brother was stunned for a moment. What are you saying? Duan Yue approached me first, and then Duzer waited for the right moment to act. Approach me, get acquainted, finally pretend to marry me, kill me, and commit insurance fraud. A strange hypothesis. But my brother's eyes darkened, especially when he heard the words, kill me. The two of them use fake IDs. Brother, try starting from this angle. My brother looked at me for a long time, then smiled. What? Do you want to be a little detective? In some of the jobs my brother had done, he really was a detective, a private investigator even. But the kind of detective my brother pursued was completely different from the types I read about in books. When I was in high school, he already held many different jobs to earn money to support the families. During that time, I saw him come home with wounds all over his body. Only later did I learn he had taken on underground gambling work, a private investigator, a story where you do anything for money. Lu Yu. My brother called my name in his signature hoarse voice. I looked up. Suddenly my brother wrapped a scarf around my neck. He kissed me through the thick fabric. Thank you for being on my side. I was naive, then suddenly felt my eyes sting. I'm always on your side, and I will never leave. Silly brother. Winter passed, and the first spring flower bloomed. I stood by the window, counting the melting ice. The warmth from the heater spread, creating a white mist. The child next to me was doing homework. During my last summer vacation, I worked part-time and tutored. I looked out through the glass. The faint light shone on the melting snowy ground. I could see my old silver Santana parked there. My brother wore a camel-colored sweater. He was too pale, blending into the white snow, standing far away. I wasn't even sure if he was lost in thought or watching me. Then, the phone in my pocket vibrated. It was him. Stop looking at me, Teacher Lu. Focus on teaching. The child next to you seems very curious. I silently turned my head, looking into the eyes of the child who had just been diligently studying vocabulary. Now, her eyes sparkled. Teacher, what is your relationship with that man? Is he your boyfriend? I rubbed the child's head. My mind returned to the present issue, piled up like a melting snow mountain, silently passing in the quiet winter. I walked on the melting snow, meeting Lu Ming right at the door. He opened his arms to welcome me. Oh, be careful. I fell into his embrace. It's slippery. He held my waist, and I was held in that position. My breath dissolved. He pulled up my hat, covering me. In the blurry and shaking view, he leaned down and kissed me. On the way back, he held my hand, just afraid that the thin layer of ice on the road surface might cause me to slip. I refused to admit that I was craving his warmth. He walked beside me and said, "Do you remember the village we used to live in? I had lived in this city with my brother before. After our parents disappeared, my brother brought me here. The police investigated our parents' disappearance, and they came here to look into it. I ran into him the other day. I felt my heart clench, opening my mouth, but not knowing how to reply, only tightening my grip on his hand. "It's okay," he said in a comforting tone, his voice dissolving into the white air. I gave them some leads to catch Duzal. Maybe they thanked me for it. I recalled the image of my brother entering the door. A uniformed police officer stood right at the door. Compared to the last time I saw him, he had aged by half a head. His eyes were still sharp, but seemed to have been worn down by time, becoming less approachable. The police officer's gaze fell on my brother's tightly clasped hands, becoming somewhat mocking. "Long time no see. Your relationship with your sister is still so good. We haven't met in 7 years, have we?" "Yes, it's been a long time since then. You haven't changed much even now." The police officer sat down on the sofa, facing us. He smiled, the wrinkles at the corners of his eyes showing friendliness, but making it impossible to guess his true thoughts. "I remember being in charge of your parents' disappearance case. Your sister was just a little thing back then." He gestured with his hand to a height near his hip. "I was just a young police officer back then. And the result is, even now, the disappearance case hasn't been solved. After many years as a police officer, there's still a lingering doubt in my heart." My brother calmly chatted with the seasoned police officer. He knew how to communicate and probe their thoughts. "Officer Wang, is that flag a gift from you?" "I only helped a little, and you came to visit. I'm truly too embarrassed." My brother smiled brightly, but the older police officer's eyes were fixed on him. After a long while, he also smiled. "Thank you for helping to catch Duze and the related criminal gang. The case will be tried next week. If you're interested, feel free to attend. Here, this flag is for you." He held out the flag. My brother reached out to accept it, but just as he held it out, he suddenly withdrew his hand. "If you have something to say, the case of your parents' disappearance. After so many years, do you have any new information?" I suddenly stood up. The tea table shook slightly. Officer Wang looked at him with interest. I rushed to say, "Excuse me, it seems the water in the kitchen is boiling. Let me make everyone a cup of tea." My steps at this moment seemed rushed. I opened the kitchen door, closed it, leaned against the sink, and gasped for breath. My heart was pounding too fast. The sun was setting. The person hiding in the darkness was fading. Water bubbles moved on the surface of the sink. Unacceptable. Unlike the previous life, that case was once again brought up. Would this change the timeline when he provided information and inadvertently met Officer Wang again? Clearly, his life was on the right track. A normal life. Please don't interfere. I clenched my palms, letting the painful sensation pull me back to reality. In the living room, the voices of my brother and Officer Wang faintly reached me. My sister has been very timid since childhood, as you know. When we were little, our parents disappeared. You scared her just now. My brother's voice was calm, neither humble nor arrogant. "Oh, actually, I feel something is not right. Your parents disappeared, but you and your sister don't seem worried. Do you think your parents are still alive? Or perhaps you know where they are? Or are they dead?" Officer Wang's questions were probing and provocative. After a moment of silence, my brother said, "I think they are dead." Following that was an "oh" from Officer Wang. "If my father were alive, he would have surely sold the house to pay gambling debts. If my mother were alive, she would never have let my sister go to school, but forced her to work. So, Whether they are alive or dead, I hope they are dead." After a long time, Officer Wang said nothing more. "Are you trying to impose moral rules on me? Think what you want. My sister has been in the kitchen for a long time. I'll go check." Then the kitchen door opened, and he walked in. A moment later, he tightly hugged me. Only then did I realize I was trembling. Looking up, I saw the boundary between light and darkness. It turned out I had always lived in the dark, while the living room where Officer Wang was sitting was illuminated. And in the kitchen, he held on to the last rays of sunset, swallowing them into a damp and suffocating prison. I heard Officer Wang say loudly, "The law cannot tolerate this. In this world, some are dead, some are missing. I will find the perpetrators. That is the responsibility of a police officer like me." I trembled and said nothing. My brother chuckled softly, raised my chin, and placed a kiss on my lips. In the living room, Officer Wang's voice resonated with the things he believed to be true. In the dark kitchen, my brother's hand slipped inside my clothes, gently rubbing my back, kissing my nose, lips, and neck, whispering gently, doing things that made me lost. My eyes were unfocused, glancing at the light in the living room. Perhaps I had already been in the 18th level of hell. That's why I didn't fear the darkness, and also hated the light. The first cicadas of the new year began to buzz loudly in the sultry summer. I sat by the window of the police station, with busy people passing by, until I saw the elderly man with white hair, Officer Wang. Although old, he was still full of vigor, stretching leisurely, and taking a wallet from his pocket when he saw me. "Oh, little girl, you've been coming to see this old man quite often lately, haven't you?" Life. My brother caught a cold. He said he had to take responsibility. I followed his example, but never had such a good physique. Now I was breathing normally, but he was wearing extra clothes and sniffling. "Want to go to the hospital with me?" I touched his forehead. "It's fine." He gently rubbed the palm of my hand. Doozy frequently collaborates with illegal drug factories, but he's very cunning. Before you could act, I was already investigating him. It's just that I was missing a few key pieces of evidence. Indeed, whether in this life or the previous one, my brother investigated Doozy, but clearly both times, it wasn't enough to imprison him. But my brother was still investigating the illegal drug factories, and dudes are often engaged in more dangerous activities. I held my brother's sleeve tightly. "I think Duzer has been collaborating with Duan Yue for several months, frequently defrauding insurance companies." My brother was stunned for a moment. "What are you saying?" Duan Yue approached me first, and then Duzer waited for the right moment to act. Approach me, get acquainted, finally pretend to marry me, kill me, and commit insurance fraud. A strange hypothesis, but my brother's eyes darkened, especially when he heard the words, "kill me." The two of them use fake IDs. "Brother, try starting from this angle." My brother looked at me for a long time, then smiled. "What? Do you want to be a little detective?" In some of the jobs my brother had done, he really was a detective, a private investigator even. But the kind of detective my brother pursued was completely different from the types I read about in books. When I was in high school, he already held many different jobs to earn money to support the families. During that time, I saw him come home with wounds all over his body. Only later did I learn he had taken on underground gambling work, a private investigator, a story where you do anything for money. Lu Yu. My brother called my name in his signature hoarse voice. I looked up. Suddenly my brother wrapped a scarf around my neck. He kissed me through the thick fabric. "Thank you for being on my side." I was naive, then suddenly felt my eyes sting. I'm always on your side, and I will never leave. Silly brother. Winter passed, and the first spring flower bloomed. I stood by the window, counting the melting ice. The warmth from the heater spread, creating a white mist. The child next to me was doing homework. During my last summer vacation, I worked part-time and tutored. I looked out through the glass. The faint light shone on the melting snowy ground. I could see my old silver Santana parked there. My brother wore a camel-colored sweater. He was too pale, blending into the white snow, standing far away. I wasn't even sure if he was lost in thought or watching me. Then, the phone in my pocket vibrated. It was him. Stop looking at me, Teacher Lou. Focus on teaching. The child next to you seems very curious. I silently turned my head, looking into the eyes of the child who had just been diligently studying vocabulary. Now, her eyes sparkled. Teacher, what is your relationship with that man? Is he your boyfriend? I rubbed the child's head. My mind returned to the present issue, piled up like a melting snow mountain, silently passing in the quiet winter. I walked on the melting snow, meeting Lu Ming right at the door. He opened his arms to welcome me. Oh, be careful. I fell into his embrace. It's slippery. He held my waist, and I was held in that position. My breath dissolved. He pulled up my hat, covering me. In the blurry and shaking view, he leaned down and kissed me. On the way back, he held my hand, just afraid that the thin layer of ice on the road surface might cause me to slip. I refused to admit that I was craving his warmth. He walked beside me and said, "Do you remember the village we used to live in?" I had lived in this city with my brother before. After our parents disappeared, my brother brought me here. The police investigated our parents' disappearance, and they came here to look into it. I ran into him the other day. I felt my heart clench, opening my mouth, but not knowing how to reply, only tightening my grip on his hand. "It's okay," he said in a comforting tone, his voice dissolving into the white air. I gave them some leads to catch Duzal. Maybe they thanked me for it. I recalled the image of my brother entering the door. A uniformed police officer stood right at the door. Compared to the last time I saw him, he had aged by half a head. His eyes were still sharp, but seemed to have been worn down by time, becoming less approachable. The police officer's gaze fell on my brother's tightly clasped hands, becoming somewhat mocking. "Long time no see. Your relationship with your sister is still so good. We haven't met in 7 years, have we?" "Yes, it's been a long time since then. You haven't changed much even now." The police officer sat down on the sofa, facing us. He smiled, the wrinkles at the corners of his eyes showing friendliness, but making it impossible to guess his true thoughts. "I remember being in charge of your parents' disappearance case. Your sister was just a little thing back then." He gestured with his hand to a height near his hip. "I was just a young police officer back then. And the result is, even now, the disappearance case hasn't been solved. After many years as a police officer, there's still a lingering doubt in my heart." My brother calmly chatted with the seasoned police officer. He knew how to communicate and probe their thoughts. "Officer Wang, is that flag a gift from you?" "I only helped a little, and you came to visit. I'm truly too embarrassed." My brother smiled brightly, but the older police officer's eyes were fixed on him. After a long while, he also smiled. "Thank you for helping to catch Duze and the related criminal gang. The case will be tried next week. If you're interested, feel free to attend. Here, this flag is for you." He held out the flag. My brother reached out to accept it, but just as he held it out, He suddenly withdrew his hand. If you have something to say, the case of your parents' disappearance. After so many years, do you have any new information? I suddenly stood up. The tea table shook slightly. Officer Wang looked at him with interest. I rushed to say, "Excuse me, it seems the water in the kitchen is boiling. Let me make everyone a cup of tea." My steps at this moment seemed rushed. I opened the kitchen door, closed it, leaned against the sink, and gasped for breath. My heart was pounding too fast. The sun was setting. The person hiding in the darkness was fading. Water bubbles moved on the surface of the sink. Unacceptable. Unlike the previous life, that case was once again brought up. Would this change the timeline when he provided information and inadvertently met Officer Wang again? Clearly, his life was on the right track. A normal life. Please don't interfere. I clenched my palms, letting the painful sensation pull me back to reality. In the living room, the voices of my brother and Officer Wang faintly reached me. My sister has been very timid since childhood, as you know. When we were little, our parents disappeared. You scared her just now. My brother's voice was calm, neither humble nor arrogant. Oh, actually, I feel something is not right. Your parents disappeared, but you and your sister don't seem worried. Do you think your parents are still alive? Or perhaps you know where they are? Or are they dead? Officer Wang's questions were probing and provocative. After a moment of silence, my brother said, "I think they are dead." Following that was an "oh" from Officer Wang. If my father were alive, he would have surely sold the house to pay gambling debts. If my mother were alive, she would never have let my sister go to school, but forced her to work. So, whether they are alive or dead, I hope they are dead. After a long time, Officer Wang said nothing more. Are you trying to impose moral rules on me? Think what you want. My sister has been in the kitchen for a long time. I'll go check. Then the kitchen door opened, and he walked in. A moment later, he tightly hugged me. Only then did I realize I was trembling. Looking up, I saw the boundary between light and darkness. It turned out I had always lived in the dark, while the living room where Officer Wang was sitting was illuminated. And in the kitchen, he held on to the last rays of sunset, swallowing them into a damp and suffocating prison. I heard Officer Wang say loudly, "The law cannot tolerate this. In this world, some are dead, some are missing. I will find the perpetrators. That is the responsibility of a police officer like me." I trembled and said nothing. My brother chuckled softly, raised my chin, and placed a kiss on my lips. In the living room, Officer Wang's voice resonated with the things he believed to be true. In the dark kitchen, my brother's hand slipped inside my clothes, gently rubbing my back, kissing my nose, lips, and neck, whispering gently, doing things that made me lost. My eyes were unfocused, glancing at the light in the living room. Perhaps I had already been in the 18th level of hell. That's why I didn't fear the darkness, and also hated the light. The first cicadas of the new year began to buzz loudly in the sultry summer. I sat by the window of the police station, with busy people passing by, until I saw the elderly man with white hair, Officer Wang. Although old, he was still full of vigor, stretching leisurely, and taking a wallet from his pocket when he saw me. "Oh, little girl, you've been coming to see this old man quite often lately, haven't you?" I handed him the cup of bubble tea I was holding. He said he didn't drink that young people's stuff, but quickly took a big gulp. "What's the matter? I heard you graduated, right? And your brother?" I ignored his question and quickly said, "My old house in the countryside has been demolished." He raised his eyebrows. "Oh, that self-built house? That's good news. That area has recently started a project. You must have received a considerable compensation, right? I remained silent, quietly looking up at him. When I was little, my parents often hit me. The sunset reflected in my eyes. I watched Officer Wang's expression gradually become serious. I was too young to understand then. Being hit hurt a lot. Perhaps they really did something wrong. The smile completely vanished from Officer Wang's face. Police officers are always sensitive to such situations. Perhaps in his mind, he was quickly speculating countless causes and consequences. I turned my back. Leaving him, I returned home. My brother had finished preparing dinner on the table. I told him I finished at 4, but now it was 6. Suddenly, I remembered. The last time was also like this. My brother waited for me on the sofa. I walked up to him and took his hand. Brother, I called him. The sunset seemed to envelop the man. The whole space was immersed in the day's last glow. He gently squeezed my wrist and hugged me. Where did you go, huh? I went to see Officer Wang. I had promised him I wouldn't hide anything from him anymore. He sighed, rubbing my head. Silly girl. It seemed like many words could be hidden in these gestures. Like the way he hugged me, kissed me, like the way his fingers touched and wrapped around my hair. If everything in this world had warmth, then I hated the scorching summer. Eat first. His finger brushed aside my messy hair. His familiar breath touched my lips. I hugged his neck. What are we eating, brother? We're eating dinner. Brother. The sweet calls intertwined, echoing in the quiet space of the summer afternoon. He leaned down to look at me, then hugged me close. Outside the window, the sound of a bicycle bell rang. The pungent smell of pepper from the neighbor's restaurant wafted in through the window frame. But I knew summer was coming to an end, so I could only kiss him every second. I wanted to hold him in my heart, engrave him in my mind, so I would never forget him for the rest of my life. I called him, asking if he was free to attend my graduation ceremony. My brother replied softly over the phone. You know, tomorrow I seem to have a task to help a client find a cat. If you don't come, I'll be mad to death. I gritted my teeth, threatening him. He chuckled. How will you be mad to death? I'll cling to you for the rest of my life. My brother was silent on the other end, then slowly assessed. Indeed, that would be a very painful death. I actually didn't know where my brother was, but today was graduation day, and I had to give a speech on stage. My tuition fees were earned by my brother through gambling. He hid it from me, secretly surviving on pickled vegetables and bread to save money. That wonderful brother never wanted me to suffer, even in the most difficult environment. I wanted him to at least know that his sister had achieved something. When I stood on stage, looking down at the crowded audience, he wasn't there, but somehow I knew he was hidden in my mind. So, I still mentioned him in my speech. I want to thank my brother. Without you, I wouldn't be here today. I felt that he probably never heard this. He was probably still busy helping a client find a cat. I could never fully understand my brother. In any case, I still owed him. When I stepped off the stage, a man appeared and stood in front of me, as if he were a boyfriend coming to give his lover flowers. I stood there, looking straight at the man, seeing my brother's face. I stood there stunned. This was the first time I received flowers. He adjusted his tie, looking like he had just finished with a client, saying he still had to complete some important contract. He leaned down, smiled at me. Hey, I didn't buy roses. You are more beautiful than roses. In about 15 minutes walking through the bustling sports field, I counted 27 girls glancing at my brother. 3 of them asked for his WeChat and treated me like air. I began to feel lucky that my brother had never appeared on campus. Otherwise, I would surely have more enemies in the form of beautiful, wealthy girls. At the sports field, some recent graduates were taking pictures. I tugged on my brother's sleeve. "Brother, let's take a picture together." I rarely took photos with Lu Ming because I always felt there was nothing to photograph with an overly controlling brother. But now I wanted to keep a memory with him. He looked at me through his lowered eyelashes. The emotions surging in his eyes were too intense. I felt lucky that the sports field was crowded at the moment. I pulled a young girl over, asking her to take a few pictures for us. After returning the phone, the girl smiled at me. "You and your boyfriend look great together." "Thank you." I didn't deny it. I also thought my boyfriend and I were a great match. When I called my brother my boyfriend, his eyes looked like they wanted to devour me alive. "Shall you say that again?" "What?" The sweet summer breeze blew, evoking the bustling scene of the stadium campus. The image of my brother pulling up his tie seemed to eternally belong to my youth, my spring. Even the sensation of bumping shoulders with anyone else couldn't stir my heart like this. On the alley hundreds of meters away from the bustling sports field, the summer breeze blew. My brother pressed me against the wall and kissed me. "Say it again. You are my girlfriend." "My darling, how long have I waited for you to say that?" The kiss made my legs weak. That first memory felt deeply etched into my cycle of good memories. My brother and I both kept silent about something. Waking up early, he held me close. We brushed our teeth together, our reflections side by side in the mirror. Each of us had our own studies and work. After class, he brought a bouquet of fresh white roses to pick me up, and I brought my latest research results for him to test. He joked that I was biting the hand that fed me. The summer that followed brought pouring rain. Our travel plans were cancelled. I didn't know what I was angry about, just venting my frustration on him. He hugged me close and told me to go to sleep. Then I truly fell asleep in his arms, waking up to the sound of rain still pattering outside the window. The lingering sunlight mixed with the raindrops. The billboards along the road began to light up one by one. He still held the same posture, embracing me, still angry. He stroked my hair and asked in a husky voice. I looked up and kissed him. Silly. That day, I returned home early. He wasn't home that day. I prepared a surprise for him. I secretly entered his study. It was called a study, but it was really just a place for books and materials, where I often did homework before exams. I intended to hide his gift in the drawer. When I opened it, I carefully noticed a pile of white paper in the corner of the desk. It was actually just a normal pile of white paper, but someone had clearly used it as a cushion while writing before, leaving indentations. I looked at the pencil rolling next to it, as if hypnotized. I picked up the pencil and began to sketch over the indentations. It seemed to be information he had written before, gradually emerging from the pencil marks. 17. Demolish. It seemed that was the date the demolition of my old house in the countryside would begin. My heart suddenly felt pulled into an endless, icy cavern. I had no idea what secret was hidden inside that old house. In the previous life, I didn't live to see the old house demolished. The more I looked at that number, my terrified heart was also pulled down. His ordinary and gentle voice pulled my thoughts back. "Shall you?" "What are you doing?" He leaned against the door frame, looking at me calmly. "Brother, I unconsciously took the noted paper and tore it up. He stared at the paper in my hand. What is it? Let me see. I threw the paper into the trash, moved closer, and pulled him in. He leaned down to look at me. His eyes were as clear as the world's brightest prism. How could I bear to see it shatter? I stood on my tiptoes, touching the corner of his mouth. He let me be, even holding my waist. "Happy birthday, brother," I said gently to him, and handed him the prepared gift, an album of our photos. I carefully placed it on the shelf next to the refrigerator. "Only 2 pictures," he said, with a hint of self-mockery. "We'll take enough." I took out the Polaroid camera. He stood beside me, the light of the candle on the birthday cake flickering. He placed his hand on the dining table. I rested my head on his shoulder. I said, "Brother, smile." He smiled. That was his 26th birthday. And that day, I was still by his side. Every day with him, I wished we could be like this forever. But 9/17 felt like a curse. It made my last summer with him feel distorted and lost. September 16th. The old house in the countryside was about to be demolished, and the truth would be fully exposed. My brother was away on a business trip today. Before he left, I called Officer Wang. "Oh, little girl, you haven't called me in a long time." Even though there were difficulties, my voice was as calm as ever, as if no hardship was a problem. "Officer Wang, I'm here to turn myself in." I felt like I had dropped a heavy bomb that made the on-duty police officers pay attention. The result was, they didn't come to handcuff me, but invited me for tea. "Officer Wang, did you hear me clearly? I said I'm turning myself in." I stopped walking. "Little girl, you are so childish. Are you playing games with the law like this?" "Me? Just because I'm turning myself in doesn't mean I've proven my guilt. Do you know that?" The darkness of the sunset stretched across the endless steppes. Officer Wang stood high up, looking down at me, and in that moment, it felt as if a sharp sword pierced through me. I tried to focus and said every word clearly. "I killed my foster father and foster mother. I was only 12 years old then. They are buried in the wall of the old house. The evidence is that our old house will be demolished tomorrow, and they will find their bodies." Sharp eyes were directed at me. I hated the way they looked through me with such piercing stares. But my brother didn't. I always saw him as gentle and kind. What an interesting thing. After a long while, Officer Wang laughed. "You 2 siblings are taking turns turning yourselves in. Your brother. Little girl, the old house was demolished today, not tomorrow. Did your brother lie to you? He was detained yesterday and taken for DNA testing. Fortunately, the test results are available. Come with me to see who the real culprit is." Strange. My brother was on a business trip. Even though that rarely happened. Strange. My brother didn't investigate what was written on the small piece of paper, because it was written for me to see. Strange. It was strange that during lunch yesterday, my brother's eyes looked at me so differently, making me feel uneasy. I felt like I would never see him again. I didn't know how I managed to sit in the police car with Officer Wang. I also didn't know what he was saying in my ear. The scenery outside the window passed peacefully. I thought about saving my brother. We used to talk about autumn arriving, but my summer was over too. The little girl's name is Lu Yu. The traffickers said that when they caught her, she had a cloth embroidered with that name. When she was sold to her foster parents, she was only 3 years old. The foster mother said, "Daughter, isn't a daughter only worth this much?" The trafficker said, "You people are paying too little." As for the girl, she's not your biological child. So of course, you can use her however you want. She has a pretty face. Selling her body will definitely be easy. Besides, look, the girl doesn't cry or make a fuss. The place where she was caught was near an alley in the next city. Good genetics. The trafficker was advertising the product, but the foster parents still haggled. Finally, the trafficker said, "You people lost a son named Lu Ming, right? What a coincidence. This girl's name is Yu. Yu means the sound of a deer calling. This child might help you find your son." The foster father spat on the ground, rubbing his nose. "What kind of rubbish is that? My son is named Lu Ming because our whole flock of chickens crows at home. This girl is named Yu. Should I believe she can call my son back?" But in the end, they still bought the girl. Because she was cheap. Because the lecherous eyes of the foster father silently assessed the girl from head to toe, touching her small arms to her feet, like his own daughter. Heh. Wait until the girl grows up a bit. It seems that others often forget the things that happened in childhood. But the girl had a profound impression. She felt pain every day. Sometimes she was beaten unjustly by her mother until it hurt. Sometimes she was chased and bitten by the dog in the house until it hurt. Sometimes she was hungry. So hungry it hurt unbearably. When the girl was 8, Lu Ming was found. Lu Ming was their biological son. That night, the girl was chased out to sleep in the pig pen and saw Lu Ming's. In fact, Lu Ming was not much better off than the girl. He was also dirty, but Lu Ming's eyes were very beautiful. The girl had never seen such beautiful eyes, like her mother's eyes. In fact, the girl liked her mother, even though her mother always beat her. But her mother fed her. In the girl's world, there was no concept of good people. The one who fed her was the best person. The girl hated Lu Ming, because ever since Lu Ming returned, her mother stopped feeding her. The girl actually had to fight the house pig for food. Then Lu Ming secretly brought her food. Lu Ming said, "You are my sister." The girl said nothing, only following and mimicking the vague sounds Lu Ming made. The girl hated Lu Ming, but unconsciously relied on that brother. She felt Lu Ming took everything from her, but Lu Ming also gave her survival. And then one day, the girl willingly held Lu Ming's hand, looking straight into her brother's slowly widening pupils. That year, Lu Ming was 13. The girl was 10. The girl didn't know how her growing up, her brother's embrace, had become such a broken, empty, and warped emotion. She only knew her brother achieved the highest scores in the whole district, and her brother was very clean. But then, when the girl was hit hard on the back with a wine bottle by that man, her head pulled to hit the wall, her body covered in wounds and scars. Only her brother carried her into the room and applied medicine. Lu Ming's cold fingers touched the wound on her back. She looked up at the moon. That night, her brother held her close. The girl didn't know how significant the decision Lu Ming made that night, when she was 15, was. The small rural house was full of strange smells. The girl still lived miserably every day, because her mother started doing strange things, and her father always dragged her out of the room to beat her. Her brother remained silent. The girl only knew to look up at the sky. She was beaten by her father until she couldn't breathe, her tooth falling onto her brother's foot. She looked up at her brother, said, "Save me." Her brother's pupils trembled. The girl blamed her brother for being so heartless, but at that time, she didn't understand. Those were Lu Ming's biological parents. Where did Lu Ming stand in that relationship? A month later, her mother seemed unwell. She said, "You're big now. You can go out and earn money. Why won't you go?" The girl felt her mother was almost insane at that time. Her mother hid in the room every day, inhaling white powder. Her father was also crazy. He kept losing at gambling, selling everything in the house. The world was distorted. In her chaotic world, the only thing that still shone was Lu Ming. Lu Ming had received a district scholarship, but Lu Ming understood that the girl only felt safe when she was in his arms. The girl didn't know that Lu Ming had been secretly planning for a year. Her father gambled away all the money, finally only leaving the house for mortgage. Lu Ming also borrowed money to build a small house. That day, her mother was particularly gentle. Yu, do you remember the pictures Mom showed you the other day? If you do as in there, you can earn a lot of money, you know. You earn money to build a house for Mom and Dad. At that time, the girl really didn't understand and felt she was about to be sold. She didn't know how humiliated she would be, how dangerous, how insane. They knew the girl didn't understand. But fear gradually rose from the depths of the girl's heart when her mother pressed her down, forcing her to kneel in front of her father. The man was drunk, looked up at the girl, the woman, inhaling white powder crazily, agreed to do whatever her husband said because her husband gave her money. First, let Dad check if you've mastered the skills yet. Her mother guided her by using her teeth to open her father's trousers zipper. The girl struggled frantically. She was very scared at that moment, even though she didn't know what she was scared of. The world was upside down, colored in black, frightening her, tearing her apart. The mother who used to feed her was grabbing her hair, causing her pain. The girl felt her tooth fall out because her father hit her head with a broken wine bottle. Everything disintegrated, collapsed. The girl didn't understand. Was there only suffering in this world? She could only ask helpless questions. Why me? What did I do wrong? It hurts so much. Do Mom and Dad know I hurt? But no one in this world pitied her. Her brother put down the hammer and pushed open the house door, looking in as if it were the final curtain. Her mother was snorting white powder, her clothes almost stripped off by her father. The wine bottle was shattered. Her hands were bleeding. The world outside was not always good. Whether for her or for her brother, everything was the same. Why did her mother let go of her? Why did her father want to humiliate her? The girl didn't know. She only knew the world was stained red. Warm liquid sprayed onto her naked skin, drop by drop. Outside, there were fireworks. Inside, the screams of the two animals were as loud as if they were trying to pierce her eardrums. She didn't feel it. She didn't understand why they had become like this. It was just pain, something she had experienced thousands of times daily. She stared at her brother, who was holding a hammer in his hand. The warm, damp liquid stuck on her eyelids. She closed her eyes. Her brother had no expression, told her to stand farther away. Her brother's voice sounded very calm. She felt as if she had just been given a bowl of rice. Just like a normal day among our many days. That night, she bathed herself clean, put on her favorite clothes, sat by the table, and cleaned the entire house, inside and out, placed a bouquet of flowers in the broken vase. Her brother was in the kitchen, mixing cement to build a new wall. Everything was not right. Her brother stroked her head, and she knew. The next day, she cried and went to the police station. "Officer, my parents haven't returned for 2 days. I'm very scared." Had their parents disappeared? Had they died? Neither she nor her brother knew. That year, her brother was 19. She was 16. Her brother said he would earn money to support her, but she never told him that just before stepping out the door, she had hidden her admission notice in her pocket. A loud bang woke up my thoughts. It turned out that today was also some kind of holiday. Fireworks were being launched into the sky. I looked up, watching the explosions of light in the sky, falling down, merging into the crowd under the police lights. My brother, handcuffed, standing beside a police officer, standing in a distant place. Our house was already half demolished. Countless police officers were present, continuously taking photos. Did my brother see me? I don't know. I walked forward a few steps, neon lights shining on my face. My brother's face, the one I would remember for the rest of my life. I am a mad woman. I inherited my mother's perverted desires. At the age of 12, I began to have unhealthy thoughts. Turn back. Turning back would be better. Forget the embraces of my brother in the dark, the whispers, the passionate kisses. That way, everything would not involve me. But I loved him so much. I started walking faster, started running. Through the layers of neon light, the sparks from the fireworks fell. I heard the sound. The summer wind blew. My brother was standing there, handcuffed. I ran to him, kissed the corner of his mouth. Fireworks falling around us in pieces. In reality, I was in endless darkness. My brother was my only star. The police rushed in and pushed us apart. My brother lowered his eyes. I didn't say anything more to him. I was like someone who suddenly intruded into his life. Your brother doesn't want you to become an accomplice. Officer Wang stood beside me, lighting a cigarette. I looked up at the sky, the fireworks slowly fading, and said softly, "My foster father almost molested me. My foster mother forced me to inhale drugs. Do we have to die? Only my brother has to die. Why didn't you arrest them? Because you are incompetent, Officer Wang." I almost shouted. Murder is illegal, and that is the law. I regret not being able to put those two scumbags in jail, but whether they deserve to live or die, that is for the law to decide. Yes, that's good. I lowered my chin and looked out the window. Light flowed across the dark night. The law. Coming into this world, everything is protected by the law, but there is no law for a brother to rely on to protect his sister. There was no answer for me. I lowered my eyes. After a while, I turned and asked Officer Wang beside me, "My brother seems to have a mental illness. Can his sentence be reduced?" The end. I always felt my brother became thinner. After being released from prison, he also became colder. 3 days after I brought my brother home. I don't know why he shaved his head bald. He also became colder. My brother woke up exactly at 6 a.m. I set my alarm earlier because I was afraid my brother would run away. I hurried to get him porridge. "Thank you," my brother said to me. My brother actually said thank you. Before, even when our relationship was at its coldest, he never said thank you. I stood there stunned, watching my brother drink the bowl of porridge. My mother also came down from the stairs. "Xiaoming, is the room Auntie prepared for you comfortable?" "Yes." I found my mother. My brother was sentenced to 7 years for intentional injury. The investigation results showed that the victim's death was not from the hammer wound, but from a piece of glass from the beer bottle. The police speculated that the foster mother had inhaled a large amount of drugs, leading to an uncontrollable, excited reaction. The DNA on the wound that caused the foster father's death was also the foster mother's, meaning the foster mother actually killed the foster father and then committed suicide, and my brother's memory of the event was distorted. Perhaps the bloody scene caused him mental shock, or the sight of the foster mother and the bag of drugs forcing me to inhale them traumatized him. My brother rehabilitated well, released 2 years early. In the past 5 years, I also used Officer Wang's help to find my biological parents. Both were professors. They had never given up searching for me for many years. When she saw me, my mother hugged me and cried non-stop. I realized that despite being abandoned, abused, and trampled, there was still another set of parents in this world who always missed me. My parents are very good. They are willing to meet all my requests. The first time I was in a new house with stairs. The first time using a bathroom with a bathtub. And my parents know about Lu Ming and me. They didn't stop me from being with him. I thought I had found happiness after all the suffering. The day I picked my brother up from prison, I talked non-stop. I found my biological parents. I also have a real house. Brother, I passed the teaching certificate exam. I'll start working as a teacher next month. The result, after 3 days, he only said 4 words to me. Oh, good, thank you. I felt like I was suffocating. My brother wasn't like this before. He would smile at me, comfort me, talk affectionately to me gently, but now, I couldn't even say the 3 words, I missed you. The bedroom door was knocked. It was my brother. I thought my brother had finally found me, or finally figured things out, and wanted to say something nice to me. The result was, he wore a black jacket, carried a backpack, ready to leave. You, say goodbye to Auntie and Uncle for me. Sorry, I'm leaving now. He was really leaving, and my heart felt squeezed. I got angry. Where are you going? I asked him. Home. He lowered his eyes. Why? Brother, this is your home too. I pulled his hand. If you found your parents, you shouldn't call me brother anymore. His cold voice pierced my heart. Brother! Why, brother? My voice choked. Then at least you're still my boyfriend, right? I held his sleeve, not believing that my brother wouldn't even admit that. After a moment of silence, he pulled his hand away. We haven't been in contact for 5 years. What kind of girlfriend are you? I stood there stunned, unable to believe him. Brother, what's wrong with you? I was truly angry, panicking and not knowing what to say. You came back and you're not normal anymore. I didn't expect him to push me away. It wasn't really a push, just a hand gesture. But because I was angry, I felt unbalanced, and I hit the doorknob. Coincidentally, there was a sharp piece of wood there. My arm was cut, leaving a deep gash. It looked quite scary. Blood began to flow. My brother's eyes clearly trembled. He wanted to help me, but I pushed his hand away. Get lost. Lu Ming, don't you have anything to say to me? Did you think in prison that your sister isn't worth your worry? Is that why you're leaving? You're truly a scumbag. Go ahead. I don't want to be near you anymore either. The farther the better. I don't want to see you anymore. I hate you the most. It wasn't true. I missed him so much. He wasn't a scumbag at all. How could I hate him? I wanted to use reverse psychology to confirm that my brother still loved me. Only this time, my brother stood still for a moment. His eyes flickered. Then he stood up. Actually walked out. Actually left me. Actually didn't come back to me. I sat on the ground, not understanding why he was like this. Not understanding why he changed after returning from prison. Tears couldn't stop falling. I could stop my tears when anyone else made me cry. But when my brother made me cry, I could only let them stream down my cheeks. The 4th day after Lu Ming was released from prison, he cut off contact with me. Where is Xiao Ming? Auntie didn't see him come back yesterday. The warm noon sun scattered on the sand. My mother sat beside me, saying nothing, suddenly mentioning that name. I couldn't suppress the sour feeling in my nose. It has nothing to do with me. Maybe he thought things through in prison, felt he wasn't good enough for you. I rested my chin on my knee. My mother reached out and gently stroked my back. Don't think everything is so bad. Maybe every time he sees you happy, he associates it with himself. I looked up at my mother. Xiao Ming looks at you with love, but always filled with sorrow. Perhaps he wants to watch you from afar. Following my mother's words, I pondered. My mother patted my shoulder, handing me the car keys. Should you go after him, let me give you courage. In this world, there is no such thing as being worthy or unworthy. What matters is that I talk to you. You are the most suitable person to talk to me. Where did my brother go? My brother's house is here. The flickering sunlight of the late afternoon shone into the old neighborhood. That's where he stayed, where he had lived for over 10 years. I held the key, opened the door wide. A whiff of alcohol hit my face. My brother was drinking. In my memory, he never drank much. I walked barefoot over the messy slippers. I came here once a month to clean the house, but I didn't expect it to be this dirty. Bottles were scattered beside the table. My brother was leaning against the table, completely drunk. I moved closer, seeing something in his hand. It was the photo album, the last gift I gave him on his birthday. I shook him. Wake up. He opened his eyes. I sat in front of him, asking him, "What do you think of Lu Yu?" His eyes immediately turned red. I'm not worthy of her. Not worthy of her, but... While drunk, he seemed panicked and hazy, his eyes looking at me blankly. Why did you leave her? Because she doesn't need a brother like me. I heard him whisper, his voice choked. She doesn't need me. She and I can never be together. Don't let the gossip. Why should she be with a convict? That's right. She's fine. I rested my head on the table, stroking his hair. What if she has an opinion? My brother looked at me with wide eyes. I can't let my sister be gossiped about, speculated about, and ashamed. I lifted his face, looking into his eyes. Lu Yu loves you. Lu Ming laughed sarcastically. What does that even count as? It's only because her brother loved her before that she loved him. But now, she has parents. She has a family. She has people who love her. Even her brother's love cannot be something to boast about. I felt my brother's heart about to break. The smell of alcohol on him was disgusting, yet I craved it. I looked into his eyes and said, "Only where you are is home." He smiled. I lifted his chin and kissed him. Our tongues intertwined. He suddenly opened his eyes wide, recovering a bit of sobriety. Seeing me, am I dreaming? I heard him say, "Yes, you are dreaming, brother. You can do anything you want." He pinned me to the table and kissed me. I heard him say many sweet words to me. I missed you. Don't go. I love you. What should I do? I love you too much. In the quiet, lonely night. He continuously repeated these words countless times. In the living room, on the sofa, and in many other positions. The night wind blew into the vast darkness. The stars began to shine again, flickering under the dim night lights, sweeping up the thin veil and stepping into a sweet dream. The next day, my brother continued as before. I played the recording from the night before for him. He sat by the bed with a cold face, all the affectionate words he had said to me. Xiao Yu, I love you so much, don't go. I looked at him and raised an eyebrow. Are you playing a trick on me? Is there any difference between day and night? The man with dark eyes stared at me for a long time, sighed, and then lunged at me, pulled me into his thick blanket. Lu Yu, from now on, it's useless even if you regret it. Thank you all for listening.